Welcome to the Instagram stories for Monday, June 13th. I'm your host, Daniel Hill. If you're not familiar, on Mondays, we talk about what the head of Instagram, Adam Mosseri, shared on his Ask Me Anythings. And sometimes I feel like the questions are planted because they are very specific about new features that Instagram announced the previous week. In this particular case, one of the questions is, what are sensitive controls and how do I turn them off in my feed? Since Instagram just announced enhancements to the sensitivity controls, this feels a little planted. Anyway, here's his answer.
The sensitive content control has been around for a while. It used to only apply to Explore, but now it applies to all recommendations, including recommendations in feed. And it filters out content like drug content or certain types of violence. And you can turn it off, or you can actually turn it up.
Just as a quick reminder, if you have a teen or a preteen on Instagram, which is against the rules, but please make sure you turn those sensitivity filters all the way up to maximum. The next two questions have to do with pinning posts. If you're not familiar, Instagram enabled the ability for you to pin things to the top of your profile. Specifically, posts, which could be reels, now can appear at the top of your profile. So this way, if you want to highlight things that you're really proud of or help to define you as a person or what kind of account you have, you can now pin posts. TikTok's had this for a long time. The question, how do I use the grid pinning feature? Here's his answer.
To pin something on your profile, you just go to that piece of media, so that photo or video, and you click the dot at the top, and then underneath that, you'll have an option to pin it. And you can only pin up to 3 things.
Okay, with that context, let's go into the next question. Do you get better engagement with pinned content? Not specifically. I don't see a specific reason that you would, except for the fact that when people first hit your profile, if they're going to look at posts, those are probably going to be the ones that they look at. So those posts will get more engagement, but the people will have to come to your profile first, right? Here's his answer.
I doubt it. The idea of pinned content is that your profile is yours and you should be able to shape it. You should be able to make it something that you love. And one way of helping you do that is to allow you to decide what shows up at the top, not about engagement.
Okay, enough about pinning posts. Let's get into something else. Question. I feel like I'm seeing more reels in my feed. Is this true? I mean, I think we all know by now that the Instagram algorithm shows you more of what it thinks you want. So if you're watching reels, it's going to show you more reels. But also, I think people are creating more reels because they recognize that Instagram's leaning toward video. It makes sense. Anyway, here's his answer.
On average, people are seeing more reels in feed, but ideally what we're trying to do is connect you with reels if you're interested in reels and not if you're not. So if you're seeing things that you're not interested, reels or otherwise, tap the dot and say not interested and we'll try and learn and adapt.
All right, we're going to take a quick break with a word from our sponsor, but when we come back, we're going to talk about Adam Mosseri's TED Talk and how to get verified. The Instagram Stories is sponsored by #Slayer.com, which is a super easy to use Instagram hashtag tool that's all about saving you time and getting more views on the content that you make. You worked really hard to create that content. Don't you want as many people to see it as possible? If you've just been copying and pasting the same old hashtags, trust me, that's the wrong way to do it. Start growing today by going to #Slayer.com and use coupon code IGStories to get your first month completely free. That's coupon code IGStories. And we're back. The question, how do you get verified? Here's his answer.
The purpose of verification is to help people who are being impersonated make sure that everyone knows who the real them is. It's not supposed to be a status symbol. So we try and make sure that we only verify people who have notability, and we use press to verify that.
I've said it before, and I will absolutely say it again. If you have any media coverage, maybe you were interviewed in some kind of article or you appeared in some publication of some kind, grab all of those links and bookmark them, because once you get to 5, you can submit for verification. You absolutely should do this. It takes 3 seconds to find where you were interviewed or whatever online. Why wouldn't you bookmark that? And then it takes just a few seconds to paste them into the Instagram form when you apply for verification, again, once you have 5. So start building your collection. All right, the last question we're going to do today. I watched your TED Talk. Is Meta going to build any of that stuff you talked about? This is actually a really good question because Meta has really scaled things back in terms of cash outlay and making sure that they have enough financial reserves for doing the things that they need to do and less on some of these wide future-looking projects. Here's his answer.
I did a TED Talk about how creators might create direct financial relationships with people, and how that might apply to subscriptions and even to investing in people in the long run. So not something to announce today, but something we're definitely exploring.
It's so interesting to talk about the metaverse because to a certain extent, I think it's hard to understand what the future of the metaverse will be. I was in a work meeting where they actually called out asking for ideas about the metaverse, which it's kind of hard to visualize what it's going to be when we're not there yet. Anyway, if you have ideas about the metaverse, I'd love to chat about it. Hit me up. That's going to do it for today's show. Be sure to come back tomorrow for more Instagram news, strategy, tips, and a lot more.
I'm not yet a member of the Instagram team, but my podcast covers many Instagram themes. But the name, image, logos are trademarks at Instagram and the LCC in the USA and every territory. Everything I publish independently until Zuck returns my DMs and starts to pay my salary. Not sponsored or endorsed, no lies, no fallacies. I use their logo with permission, not malicious or callously. No trademark violation, filling all criteria. Follow me on Instagram or Twitter at Daniel Hill Media.